Good morning to Lauren and Bob Tucker, who will see this via video. As Mr. Quinn and Mr. Davison have said, we would love to have had them here with us this morning, but Mr. Tucker is ill and unable to be with us. It is truly an honor for me to speak about one of my favorite alums, Bob Tucker, who came to Peddie in 1939 and graduated in 1944. As Mr. Davison said, war years, hard years. I've known Bob Tucker and his family since the mid-'80s and have been fortunate to have enjoyed a lovely friendship with them. The same is true of Bob and Peddie Seltzer. Lucky me. Today we celebrate both Bobs, a natural pairing for many reasons. They are lifelong friends, they have the same values, and they are related through marriage. Bob Tucker's sister Jean, who is here with us, married Bob Zenker's brother David. So we're delighted that those families have commingled. So imagine Bob Tucker here in 1939. As much as things have changed since that time, many essential programs, habits, and traditions have stayed the same. I had a great time reading through the Tucker file from the alumni office, most of it on very yellow, wispy paper. Old report cards with numerical grades hand-printed, handwritten letters to and fro parents. That will not be the same for your files. And in the 40s, the head of school actually was the person who admitted you to Peddie, who helped you get into college, who organized your schedule. Kind of a one-person, Mr. Quinn, Mr. Cabot, Ms. Rodriguez, and Mr. Hansel. Most Peddie students, boys, lived in Wilson Hall, which is no longer here, but that enormous white frame building used to dominate the center of campus. Mr. Tucker lived there for a while when he first came, and what was different then side of things, he brought his guns. He lived on a farm and was an active hunter, so he brought them so that he could practice target shooting in the basement of Wilson Hall, which was a shooting range. And there was also a bowling alley in that basement. But he also lived in Trask. So any one of you who lives in Trask now, I can't remember, do you have fireplaces in your rooms? Yeah. But not working, right? Because Bob remembers loving having a fire in his room, but after the dorm master went to bed. And he remembers a night when it seemed like a fun thing to do, to roll big logs down the 3 flights of stairs in Trask. Only the dorm master, who had little kids and valued his sleep, was none too happy and made Bob and his classmates wash the stairs on hands and knees in the middle of the night. So creative pranks are still in order at Peddie. Mr. Tucker, like Mr. Zenker, remembers many of the men that you see on pictured portraits around this campus and around the chapel. And he had a close relationship with many of them. And he remembers praying in the chapel for his classmates who were fighting in the Second World War. And it wasn't this chapel was built in 1949. A few other things of interest I found in Bob's file. His Peddie application, and I'd like to say it was as hard then as it is now to get in, but the application itself is much shorter, as you can see. And my favorite part of this old application, again, this is the entire application, including recommendations. You may remember how much time it took you to collect your recommendations. This recommendation says in one sentence, Bob is a nice-looking boy, I recommend him. And his transcript shows that he took math, English, lots of public speaking, which would have been typical, Latin, French, science, and a lot of extracurriculars. 3 years of football, so he played 3 Blair days. 3 years of basketball, 4 years of baseball, squash, press club, hall monitor, glee club, scholastic honors, gold key, house committee, vice president of freshman and junior class, secretary treasurer of the senior class, Now, this would be an impressive record today. No wonder he was accepted early to Wesleyan, where he graduated 3 years later. The only thing on his transcript that might seem a bit unusual today, because it's not done, is that those transcripts at that time gave every student's IQ. So Bob, when you watch this and want to know your IQ for a price, I might share it. But no surprise if you got into Wesleyan early. I also read some interesting letters. Bob wanted to buy a gold key jacket. The jackets at that time went for under $20, but you also had to give the name of your tailor. And if you didn't want to go that route, you could buy a hand-me-down jacket from a graduating senior, and I guess you got to choose the senior whose jacket you wanted. Interesting tradition. So let me tell you a little bit about Bob's very successful life after he left Peddie. He graduated from Wesleyan in 3 years and returned to Peddie for a short time to work in the alumni office for Don Rich. And at that time, he played semi-pro baseball for a team in Hightstown. He then earned his master's degree from Brown University. Early in his work career, he followed his father to Beneficial Corporation, the same company that Finn Casperson led for many years. Bob was the chief financial officer and first vice president of the corporation and worked closely with Finn Casperson. He retired in 1985, but has remained as president of the Beneficial Foundation, and in that role has generously directed the foundation's philanthropy to Peddie when appropriate. During all these years, he also has followed his great love, horse racing and horse breeding. His farm, Stonegate Standardbred Farm near Morristown, is the major breeding farm in New Jersey. The farm breeds over 200 mares a year. He and his wife, Lauren, live at the farm to this day, and as so many of us can testify, a visit to that farm is a memorable event. It's a gorgeous old stone house and farm, and they are the warmest of hosts. Bob is still an active horseman and breeder, and just this fall went back and forth daily to the breeder show in Pennsylvania. He is a man who has balanced his love of horses and farming with his business career throughout his life. You may be wondering why and how Bob Tucker, as a Peddie alum, garners the respect of all of us to such a degree that we honor him today. From my description thus far, he could be any of you in 75 years. 2091. And this is my hope, that sitting here are any number of you who will graduate from Peddie, have a successful life working at something you love, have such close friendships from your Peddie days, that you will want to join together and give Peddie a gift like the area outside the campus center called the Zenker-Tucker Plaza, named for these two great and big-hearted men. Or establish a scholarship for 2 New Jersey students in your parents' honor, as Bob Tucker has done. But let me be very clear, we are not honoring the 2 Bobs today because they gave a gift for a plaza in their names. We are honoring them because they have, throughout their long lives, always understood what founded them as young men. And they both count Peddie as one of the most important of their founding experiences. We honor them for being thoughtful and honorable, for valuing education and friendship and loyalty, and for sustaining those values throughout a long life. There's a common saying that we all stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. The legacy that Bob Tucker and Bob Zenker will leave goes beyond all of us today, and for that we honor them on this Founders Day. They never left Peddie, and Peddie never left them. Thank you very much.